Okay, I'm going to try and make this topic exciting. That's what I was told to do. It's not easily done. So it's going to be something about these information cards and selectors. So a quick review. My review is not as quick as Phil's of what's been going on the internet. But here's what life is like, right? You got these, it'll be good, it'll be short though. You got these websites and you go from place to place, right? And you type, you click, click, click. And that's how the internet works. Every day you pour yourself in, you build a new profile, maybe a new username, a new password. And every time you're filling in data, guess what? It goes into their mainframe and their mainframe and their mainframe. If you type it into Facebook, you own it. Well, you own it except you can't have it. So that's the life we have. It's got a little, you know, it's got some good points. So then how do we get any kind of cross-site context? How do we do anything like that? Well, here's what happens today. As you're typing, and the average person, we all know this, the average person does not understand that this is what's happening. Long-term cookies are being dropped. The average top e-commerce site drops over 90 cookies on a single session as you use it. And then what happens with this? So you're going from place to place, and you're being tracked and monitored. Those cookies are then turned into profiles, and the profiles drive the personalization of ads that you see. And voila, we have the internet of today. People don't look too hard. You know, Google says, shiny toys, they're all free. Don't look, no, don't look over here. Shiny toys, because what they're selling, 20 billion in revenue, is you. Right? This is what they sell. Google doesn't sell Gmail, that's free. But because you use Gmail, they sell information about you. So there's some really beautiful things about this. I get asked to talk with the FTC and privacy concerns a lot. And you know, one thing we laugh about is that the status quo may be a bit creaky, but it's phenomenally simple for the end user. You don't do anything. Of course, as I said, the average person doesn't even understand what's happening. So they don't think, they're not doing anything, they don't think anything's happening. And how those ads seem to track what they're searching for, I don't know, that's a bit odd. So Doc went on and on about a lot of the problems of the status quo, so I won't repeat any of that. But there's a recent study that showed that, you know, as soon as people are actually educated in how the internet works and how Google gives everything away, but how this works, most people are not too happy. And there was a myth that people who are young people, under 24, oh, they don't care, there's no privacy. Even if you told them how Google and behavioral tracking all work, they wouldn't mind. Actually, 55% of them said, I'm not so cool on this either now that I understand it. So, Kim Cameron, who's keynoting tomorrow, I believe. Yes. He and a bunch of us, identity nutcases, we think that there's the reason that the internet is this way is that it was built without an identity layer. You know, the internet was built by a lot of people who knew each other, right? So there's no authentication and security, there's no identity data, there's no way to move information across the internet about people, turns out. Because who needed it? I mean, if you already know and trust everyone, what do you need that for? Just send them the file or talk to them. So some of us have been setting about to try to fix what we think should be there. So a bunch of us started this open source project. We used to come to this building. Novell was a very active, when we started this Higgins project, Novell was a big contributor to it, and among other companies. So actually pretty familiar with coming to Provo here. We and Microsoft both thought that cards might be a good metaphor, you know, for this identity information. So, and you know, when more than one person thinks of it, it must be a good idea. So we locked in on it. And Kim Cameron, again, I won't steal his thunder. I don't even know what he's going to say, but his team did a lot of very seminal work in and around this metaphor. So here's what the vision is that Kim and that open source and lots of us now think could maybe make the internet a more personal place, could be some of the necessary infrastructure to implement some of what Doc's VRM vision is. I often say I work for Doc. What I mean by that is he paints these impossible to implement pictures of what the world should be like, and then we dutifully try to catch up with him.
It's an easy job, so he's got to do it.
So there's, you know, you might have heard of this betaportability.org. There's a group of people who also, you know, why do you pour yourself into one site? You can't get your data, you can't move it from place to place. So the idea of cards and a wallet, or we call it a selector, is that you could take information that other people say about you, and you could also self-assert things But you know, what does the Equifax say about you in terms of maybe a credit score or something like that? Or what does Axiom say about you? And then you could have that, and just like you have a wallet, and you know, this is what, I'm from Massachusetts, so this is what the state says about me, and it's because of what they say about me that I can go and, you know, go into a liquor store and buy, like, whatever you buy there. That's it. So it's not what I say about myself, it's this ability to wield third-party assertions. And the internet was built without a way to wield verified assertions about things. People think that their information is very important. Well, it is. But actually, the information about you that's really valuable is what other people say about you. For instance, the only way the internet works at all today, the ability to buy a book on Amazon, is not because you type something in and they just believe you. You could be a dog. You know, that old 1993 cartoon is still true today. It's my favorite summary of the internet. On the internet, no one knows you're a dog. And they do is they check behind the scenes to find out, and do all sorts of tests and things to try and use probabilistic and behavioral analysis to figure out whether that credit card might actually work, and so on. So if these information cards, we could have issuers that make statements about you, like this is an electronic credit card, and it's issued by an authority that goes into my wallet. And you can store all kinds of things on a card. It doesn't have to be payment. Payment's just an obvious example, like driver's license, another one, health information, your favorite song. And long ago, Microsoft figured out that we can't actually fix the phishing problems of the internet by just building another version of IE and hardening it even further. We're doing that, they're doing that, and everyone else, but the belief was that we need to have a trusted piece of hardened infrastructure separate from the browser. It can be integrated with the browser, so we call that a selector. And Microsoft did most of the original sort of security threat analysis, and they look upon this information card metaphor mostly as a way to deal with the security and anti-phishing characteristics. The nice thing about information cards is that we move away from username and password, you know, into something where you just say, here, this is me. You do have to authenticate to the card or to the wallet, but you don't have to have a username and a password at every site like this. And because the cards can hold arbitrary information, the cards hold whatever sets of, we call them claims you like, you can eliminate a lot of this form filling. Why does, you know, if you ever asked yourself, why do websites ask you your first name? It hasn't changed much. My computer is asking me my first name. I mean, how many times do I have to answer that question? Doesn't that give you a sense that there's something sort of wrong here? Turns out your computer is basically turned off. Web browser is a mainframe terminal onto, you know, that data center, and that data center doesn't know you, so you better tell them your first name. So the idea of information cards is you could self-assert a few things and make your own cards, or you could get these cards from other people. A bunch of us, not just these big names, we like to throw the big logos around, but actually there's more open sourcey community people in this foundation that Drummond's the executive director of. We've come together to sort of, I forget how Doc said it, but it's no longer a Microsoft technology. I've mentioned Microsoft a number of times. They invented a lot of this stuff and then they put the IP out there, and now anyone can implement it without any fear of being sued over patent issues or any other intellectual property rights. And just because I'm being generous, here's a screenshot of not the Higgins stuff and our stuff, but this is what your wallet would look like. You have a card. And if you wanted to log in, instead of typing, you know, username and password, you click on a card. And you can just log in, or you could, in this case, maybe make a payment assertion like that. I mentioned before there's two kinds of cards. There's the ones you make yourself and the ones that are managed by someone else. The longer I've been in this identity industry, the more I realize that self-asserted information, you know, favorite songs and hobbies and stuff, is a class of interesting information. But most of the more interesting stuff that will impact your life is actually more what other people say about you. I mean, if I was allowed to say what my income was and self-assert my credit status and self-assert a lot of other things, you know, I would probably not tell the truth. And we're back to the same problem. So managed cards are very important. It's what someone else says about you. I thought I would take a couple of minutes just to level set and show everybody how these two kinds of cards work. There's these actors here. So here's the user with their selector in their browser, and they want to log in at Amazon here.